official.
I know. It is official. I'm going to leave this part in, too. Like,
go for it. No, this is the fun conversation,
welcome
man.
to the hot seat, right?
Yeah.
So as you so put it, man. Yeah, I know we're short on time, but why is life good right now? Like, what's this experience been like at the conference this week?
It has been enlightening and probably one of the most optimistic experiences I've had in a while. Like, as an officer, essentially getting to be undercover, taking photos and relaxing and just being a fly on the wall. Conversations that our enlisted corps is having, not just like the chiefs in the room, because the chiefs are blue and doing their thing and having a great time, but the PME instructors, the young senior airmen that are getting tagged along because they're the airmen of the quarter and just doing good work, they're asking tough questions. Like, they are actually trying to wrap their minds around GPC. A crazy thought that I think most CGOs don't realize, that these are the things that are running through our airmen's mind. So this has been awesome, man.
That's a good point. Like, even just I think, people joining today, there's a lot of negative things said about people joining today, like they're softer or whatever. But I like, one thing that's not discussed, and whether people believe that or not is one thing, but one thing that's not acknowledged is, like, you're right. They're deeper thinkers than I think, 20 years ago or whatever. That's an excellent point. No, I'm excited that you had this opportunity because, like, can you mind talking about CRE8 Force? Because you guys, like, were here this week and really, in a good way, making it, continue to make an even bigger name for yourself.
Thank you for saying that, man. This whole week has been humbling.
Yeah.
So to put it in perspective, for people that don't know CRE8 Force, we've only been around for about 14 months.
Yeah.
In all reality. And even last year, like, we weren't really around. We were just testing to see what would work for us. And so, long story short, 2 friends walk into a bar, working through their capstone for a half A26 professional development program. And we think, you know what, let's combine the thought of podcasting, storytelling, short-form content, and try to share our airmen stories.
Yeah.
And try to tackle some of the things we're not talking about. Let's talk about Roger Fortson.
Yeah.
Let's not wait for the Air Force to tell us to talk about it. Let's just do it, because it's the right thing. And if you're doing the right thing, don't stop. So it has been awesome to just try to have those conversations and see all the support we're getting. It's humbling having people like you and Josh and Miguel be in our corner and try to help us out and be part of this, because it is something that we never really thought would take off. We can see the language in the NDAA.
Yeah.
We can see the perception of DEI or a lot of professional development programs that we've had kind of fall to the wayside for mission. But in all reality, sitting through Vice Chief of Staff's comments the other day, as we reoptimize, we're still going to focus on developing airmen and developing our people. So whatever terminology we use, like, fantastic, but we're going to do the work.
Yeah.
Because we got to move fast. So it's been awesome, man.
No, I love it. And, I mean, just think for you and Mike, I mean, you guys just welcomed me with open arms, and it was kind of, it's just really cool how we're all just working, and to include Miguel, like, just working together this week. Like, hey, how can we support one another? And Josh, too. I know Josh isn't here, but he's still promoting everything. But just almost like a Voltron, right? Just like, how can we, our powers combine?
Oh, my goodness, the throw. But
that's 2. Were you there earlier when I made the Call of Duty reference?
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if you were there or not. But, like, and that wasn't intentional. Like, it was just kind of random. I was like, this is what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to explain it, but it is just, how important is that for people to kind of just come together to, hey, we're kind of sort of doing the same thing. We're all going to be successful, but if we can come together, man, we can go further. Like, but how important is that? What are your thoughts on that?
Teamwork makes the dream work, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was an engineering undergrad. I was not good at it. Like, I had a group of friends, and we just grinded through it. And our motto is collaborate to graduate. That is how we survived. The number of delirious conversations and projects that were worked on at 4 a.m, like, shout out to Nick and Tyler right now, because they know, they were there. It's just how you do it. And so whether it's creating content or school, or even where the force is going. Like, we talked about reoptimizing squadrons to start aligning for mission versus, like, it's going to be teamwork. Like, I've been deployed where I'm the intel guy, like, loading up bags for people because we don't have, like, a bus to take folks to the jet.
Yeah.
You just borrow a truck, driving the flight line, and you're loading. I've been in spots where it's not my job, but that really doesn't matter. Because the number of times you've probably heard a base agency say, like, you know what, that's not my job, go to this office between this short working window, has probably pissed you off. So you just got to be a team player.
No, that's a great point. In terms of like social media and podcasting or just like different things that we're all doing, how relevant you think this is to connecting with the younger generation, especially in the military?
It's needed. It is absolutely needed.
And I say that because I feel like people are scared of it or trying to shy away from it, right? Or don't truly understand how to maximize it.
I think the key is understanding how to maximize.
Yeah.
Because the perfect example is a lot of folks' view of military media right now is probably what they see on the Airman, NCO Senior, NCO page.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's a lot of hopping on live on duty, and it's a lot of like the quote unquote military thirst traps or like whatever gains a following because you know what? Like I want to grow my brand. And that's great for them, but that's centered around the individual. And really how we should leverage media and social media in the military is how to better our team. It's not about us. It's just about getting the message across and saying it in different ways that people understand it. I think the best thing I heard from one of my commanders the other day is that some people are just reframers. And that's really what media and content creators when it comes to the military is. They're saying probably the same thing when it comes to education.
Yeah.
Just in a different way.
Yeah.
And hopefully a way that our younger generation actually gets the message. Because I'll be the first one to say, like, when that is a quiet room and we've got the slides there, like, I pride myself in, like, doing a good job. I will probably fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, I will be the first person to try to, like, fidget in my chair to stay awake. I might stand up. I'll drink some water. Like, I'll do whatever just to survive because I don't want to be that person. But that's not conducive for everybody. Slides were great back in 1999, where some of our Windows operating systems might still be on, who knows? But we're in 2024, so we have to adapt.
No. So what do you want people, I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. What do you want people to know about CRE8 Force?
Really, I don't want people to know anything specifically. Go check it out.
Yeah.
CRE8 Force on YouTube. Watch a video. Interpret it in your own way. We're going to have conversations. It might resonate with you. It might not. You might learn something. You might not. That's fine. Check it out. Drop a comment. Ask a question. Choose an email. Because the whole point is to have conversation.
Yeah.
About tough topics. And if we completely missed the mark, whether we pulled the wrong source, whether we used incorrect historical context, whether we missed something because of our own biases, call it out. Because our feelings aren't going to learning and having these conversations. So just go check it out. And if you want your voice to be heard in that capacity, reach out and we'd be happy to interview anybody.
I want to transition to some topics about you specifically. What made you want to join?
I'll be honest. Free college. Free college.
But you went to the Air Force Academy, so that's not easy to get into.
So it was purely happenstance. Like most of my peers were like, I've been dreaming of the Air Force Academy since I was like a 10-year-old because I saw fighter pilots and XYZ. That was not me. So my father was active, but was a GS civilian essentially my entire life growing up. So we were always adjacent to the Air Force.
Yeah.
He grew up, I grew up by Eglin Air Force Base. He was a civilian in the LRS. He was their IDO during the War on Terror. Wow. So, like, getting to see what he did and go to the base and be by the flight line and see, like, fighters taking off to deploy and train, like, that was super cool.
That is cool.
But it wasn't necessarily, like, what inspired me.
Yeah.
Getting through high school, I was just like, okay, what is the best way to get a good scholarship? Like, go see something else. Go to, like, an amazing engineering school, but not pay for it.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have, like, all the money in the world to fund me going through college.
Yeah.
And so I thought about just doing ROTC because I was like, oh, I heard about this. It will cover, like, $108,000 worth of, like, tuition and board. Like, let me do that.
Yeah.
That's the smart financial decision. And my dad's commander at the time, because he was a senior civilian at the LRS in MacDill at that point, was an academy grad. And so he told me, it's like, there's this thing called the Air Force Academy in Colorado. Like, you should check it out if you're thinking ROTC. And this was at the beginning of my senior year, which is usually not when people think about applying to the Air Force Academy. And so...
It's like you're like almost like a year too late at that point.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so we checked it out, and we were past almost every single nomination deadline, except for my local House of Representatives member. We had about, I think it was like a week and a half, and we scrambled our asses off to get everything together and got that. When I say like the last day, like the office is closing at like 4:30, and we got there probably at 4 o'clock on the very last day to submit. So we did that, and then somehow got the option to interview for a nomination, and I'm like a 17-year-old kid being asked about using RPAs to surveil the U.S. populace, and I was like, panic. So I probably blacked out the whole time when I answered those questions. But the rest is history. Fast forward a few months, and I got my appointment and freaked out, and then waited until my dad got home that night and sat with my mom and dad and accepted it, and that was it, man.
That's so awesome.
That was it.
Detour. One question, because I know the job you're doing now and some of the other stuff, we had discussed earlier this week that you've accomplished thus far. But what's your advice to young leaders or just people in any position to not only survive criticism, but grow from it? Because whether you're putting content out, you're going to get criticism. In your job, you're going to get criticism, right? Like we're going to get negative feedback, a lot of positive, but there's always going to be, the naysayers as well. But yeah, what's your advice to people on how to not only survive criticism, but grow from it?
Don't focus on how it's said or how it's presented, but what was said. Because a lot of feedback or criticism typically has a negative connotation. Get that out of your head. Because everyone says like, oh, they're attacking me, but don't focus on what they're saying. So look at the message and then determine if it's for the better or for the worse. Is that telling you that you did something wrong to help you so you don't do it again? Or are they trying to pick you apart and they're just looking for something? You have to really take time to listen to their message, because if you just tune it out, like they could be giving you the most solid advice.
Yeah.
I will say like there was a time where I was the like shithead first lieutenant coming out of the flying squadron, and there was one NCO and a senior NCO in my flight that we just did not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Because I was being too cool for school. But you gotta eventually like grow up.
Yeah.
Like I will say like Valerie Hirata, who's out there now, she was my like Intel SEL at Ellsworth and then is now the Squadron SEL. And the most impactful thing that someone ever said when I was there was at my going away, where she opened up, where she was like curious to see where I would go coming from the flying squadron. Was I just gonna like be too cool and not part of the team and do my own thing? But the fact that she said she was able to see me grow as a leader in that year and really take care of the team and really realize what was important was probably the most humbling thing and impactful thing. And I cried the rest of that afternoon. Like after that going away, I walked to my desk and people tried to say words and they just saw me in tears and they're like, we're going to come back later.
No, thanks for sharing that. Like that's really good. And I'm conscious of your time, but I do have one last question for you.
We got time. Good.
Okay, I'll come up with some. There's a same question that. Well, the question asked in every podcast is if there was a giant billboard with your picture on it and message on it for the world to see. One, where would you want that billboard to be? And two, what would you want your message to say?
So I know exactly what I would want on there. And it would probably be just a photo of my family. And it would just say, understand what matters. Because we get caught in the rat race.
Yeah.
Whether it's chasing a rank, chasing the next corporate promotion, and trying to do what the Air Force is telling you to do, trying to do what your parents are telling you to do. Find what drives you. And find what really matters to you. Because that's it. That's the grand scheme of it. Like, we can only fake it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, the people who say keep going to 20, just because, like, retirement, yes, it might be financially smart in the long term, but where are you at and how much stress does that add into your life?
So you and I have a mutual friend, and he's getting out at 12 years. A lot of people probably say, don't do it. You just got to, it's only 8 more years. I'm like, man, that's a long time. It's going to go by fast, but it's still a long time, especially when you're at the beginning of it. And they talked about what their plan. I'm like, that's a solid plan. Like, they want to go do something else, and like, they actually want to go to law school. And I'm like, do that. Like, yeah.
Because here's the thing: in the grand scheme of life, most people probably live to about 80, give or take.
Yeah.
8 years is 10% of your life.
Damn, I didn't think about that.
exclude your time through high school, and you're only looking at like that 60-year mark, that is like almost 15% of your adult life.
Damn.
Yeah.
That hits different.
It's like, do you want to give up 10 to 15% of your life doing something you don't want to do just because someone tells you you're over the hump?
Yeah.
You'll get some more money at the end. Like, is that really how you want to live your life?
I've been in for 22, and I'll probably retire next year at my 23-year mark, but I've had people tell me, like, you should stay until 30, and, you'll get more money, but I'm like, really? Like, yeah, but, like, I'm losing out. Like, I could do so much more of that time to make up for it, and, But, so one question I've been asking in a lot of podcasts recently, it's probably my new favorite question, is what new friendship from the past 2 to 3 years was developed and has evolved into, will no doubtly be like a lifelong impact, or have a lifelong impact and be a lifelong friendship?
That's an easy answer. And I'm going to count on one hand. I will say, like, Mike, you, Josh, Miguel.
Yeah. Like
the folks from my Level Up cohort. Those are friendships that just don't go away.
Yeah.
Because they're not formed over just happenstance. Like, oh, we're in the same shop, therefore we're going to be Air Force friends for 3 years, and once I PCS, like, fuck off. I'm never talking to you again. Because we've been there. We're just like, bye-bye. No. Like, these are friendships that we're working towards making things better.
Yeah.
Where we're experiencing the same challenges. Sometimes the same successes. Like, going through all of these growing pains together doing this thing.
Yeah.
And just like we trauma bond with, like, our friends through whatever basic training or shitty work environment, and you're still talking about it 10 years later, it's the same thing.
Or what's it? Collaborate till you graduate.
Collaborate to graduate. Like, you get through it.
Or bonding over Shake.
Man, that was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, those are friendships, like, I will cherish. And I was telling Miguel this, because the Miguels of the world who are at this stage in their career, I told him, like, he is the kind of person that if I stay in for this long run and I am a 05, 06 or more, like, those are the people you want to see as your squadron SELs.
Yeah, 100%.
As your shirts, as your SimSAFs one day. The people who are so humble and are doing it just to make the world a better place. Like, he had the opportunity to, like, sit down with SimSIF and get a coin. And even after the fact, he is not making it about him. Those are the people who are going to do incredible things in our force and make the team better. Yeah. And get airmen to stay is the key. Like, that leadership will fix retention problems.
Yeah.
Not bonuses.
Yeah.
Because money goes only so far. Not saying, like, oh, you're going to live in this super dope place, because that only goes so far. But genuine connection and making people feel valued and heard and supported in their work and personal lives, like, that gets people to stay. It's just amazing, man.
What do you think about podcasting as, like, an innovation tool? I know it's kind of a weird question, but I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking, like, man, that's something I want to ask. In my mind, I was thinking, like, I'm going to ask Kai about that, because we hear all the buzzwords with innovation, right?
Yeah.
And people think it has to be, I don't know. I feel like the whole point of innovation is just to be creative and come up with, something new. But then I feel like when organizations are trying to innovate, they cage what innovation can be.
Yeah. Podcasting is absolutely innovation. Because if you go back thousands of years, history was just written. History is just a recountment of the conversations that people had or the experiences they had. And that's what media is nowadays, whether it's podcasts, whether it's vlogging, whether it's short form. Like, people are capturing moments in time. And those moments in time will eventually be history.
Yeah.
Just like audiobooks.
Yeah.
If you go back a century, you would have to take the time and have the resources to go out and get yourself a book and read and learn. And that was learning from only what was being said and published by major corporations.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have your small business startups where you just, like, publish books like willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Because everyone writes a book nowadays. But we're in an era where we have the opportunity to share so many perspectives and just so many experiences that you can take it on the go. You don't have to always be connected. You can be connected to the internet for a moment and download what you need.
Yeah.
And then hop on a plane, go in a car.
Yeah.
Be off the grid and listen and learn from people around the world, people around the country, people you will never actually meet in person. But you can take some things away.
That's good.
And it kind of will help us have this like shared consciousness of what is going on.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, it's something I've just been thinking about, and I don't know if anyone's ever like framed it like that. You talked about like going back in time. So last Friday I was at a base promotion release party, and the wing commander actually called me out of the crowd to like speak. Just unexpected. It was impromptu. He was like, "Hey Foster, why don't you come up here and say something?" So I was like, and I was walking slow because I was trying to like think of something to say as I was walking up, right? And this is in front of hundreds of people. Anyway, and I talked about the importance of the milestone of the promotion for all the people selected. But the thing I talked about was, more importantly, our future is someone else's past, right? And it ties into what you said, in a way, like we're just repeating a cycle.
Oh, yeah. It's all history. The thing I mentioned earlier, too, one of the airmen that hung out for Miguel's first mentor shot, is when an individual signs on that dotted line saying, I'm going to go to BMT, or someone commits to the Air Force Academy or commissions from there or OTS.
Yeah.
And when you meet that person on day one, that could be the future SIMSAF, SIMSIF, or CSAF.
You're right.
On day one. And so treat everybody like they are the future. Because that's what we're going to do. Like, invest in them now for the future. Yeah. And that's just how we re-optimize. We're not trying to fight today's fight. We're trying to fight tomorrow's fight.
Yeah.
It's the same on the human capital front.
That's an excellent point.
You start developing them now, not because you want them to be the best airman or staff sergeant, because you want them to be the best SIMSAF or SIMSIF in the future.
One last question. That's an excellent point, because that's an amazing point. You're right, because there's a lieutenant in the Air Force right now, or a captain that one day is going to be the chief staff of the Air Force, or same with an airman that's going to be SIMSAF, right? I mean, hell, there's even a tech sergeant right now that's going to be a SIMSAF.
Exactly.
All right, so last question. You have a lot of accomplishments. Even, I know you're a young guy, based on when you graduated and some of the other stuff that we, just by talking to you, but you've achieved a lot. You know, you're doing all these things with CRE8 Force. If you were to take away everything that you're currently known for, but there was one sentence written about your life, what would you want that sentence to say or be? This is the new question. I'm kind of like, you're the first person to ask this to.
I would say, for me, he helped me. That's it. I don't need to be known for my accomplishments. If I leave a lasting impact on anything, it's that I help people out. That's it. Because that's the grand scheme of life. Like, one day, I'll retire. Like, I will completely succumb to my introverted ways and be off the grid with, like, my wife and dogs, and my kid will visit me, like, here and then, and I will be content with life. But while I'm actively working, if people only know me for just being helpful and being willing to, like, get my hands dirty to get the job done, or take that little extra moment to, like, walk with them to accomplish a task so they don't have to come back to me, that's fine with me.
That's good. Any parting shots, or what do you want people to know about CRE8 Force, or any overall like parting shots or thoughts?
I'd say nothing about CRE8 Force for me. Go ask your airmen what they're thinking about you. Go ask them what they understand and don't understand. And tune into the AFSA Facebook page that has live streamed most of these conversations, even if you didn't make it, to pick out what our senior leaders are saying about it. Because I will say, until now, I knew it as a terminology, I knew where we're going, but to see it broken down in a more specific way with some sort of methodology on what we're really focusing on might help people kind of wrap their minds around this crazy, decisive decade that we're about to get into. Because this is when we win or lose. Yeah.
That's scary to think about. Hey Kai, thank you so much for joining my show. I know it was kind of short turn, but man, just means a lot to me. And I wanted to have, before I had you and Mike on together, I wanted to have you guys on separately, right? Appreciate just, I love all the positivity we shared and like the DMs and all that stuff. And then supporting, like we're all supporting one another with the content, man. So you mean a lot to me. CRE8 Force, Mike, means a lot to me, but I appreciate you as a human, as a leader, and just everything that you're doing.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man.